Thanks for tuning into the Trade Setup with me, Niraj Shah. It's an important day of trade simply because there are some SEBI measures that have come in, and from a global markets perspective, two big rate decisions from Japan and US. But at 7:30 a.m., this is the kind of news flow that you're dealing with. The US 10-year Treasury yields are at 4.14% ahead of the FOMC. They've come down quite a bit. Keep that in mind. Asian markets were set for a mixed open, and in fact, open mixed ahead of BOJ rate decision as well. Oil too has come down a little bit on China demand concerns and waning Middle Eastern worries, despite geopolitics being the here and now. Samsung Q2 operating profit has soared 1,458% on AI demand. That tells you a story or two about what's happening on the AI front. By the way, pardon me for being very upfront, is the language that I'm using from one of the notes. Nvidia is down 25% from recent highs. Reversion to mean is a reality, maybe out here too. Okay. What is it that the US markets did? Nasdaq was down, Dow was in the green. Dow futures as we speak about 1/3% in the red. I think these will be tentative ahead of the FOMC. Asia, like I said, is mixed. Nikkei is down, Shanghai is up. Some of the others too are trading mixed. Our markets which have faced resistance at higher levels for now, implying a very, very flat open. So what's the trade setup therefore for the day today? I think that's the key question, right? So you've seen that the indices have largely been consolidating, or at least consolidated in trade yesterday, but the PCR moved up on the consolidation day. I think 1.10 now from 1 is the Nifty PCR. Typically at 1.3, 1.4 you start seeing it get a bit edgy. About 0.7, 0.6 you start seeing it get a bit bullish. Currently inching higher, not quite at 1.3, 1.4. So that's the first point on the trade setup. Remember, Bank Nifty is the other one which consistently sees resistance at the 52,000 level. Yesterday trade as well went up quite reasonably before coming off right here. Look at this zone, 52,000, and then came off. So that's the problem with the Bank Nifty. It's facing resistance at those higher levels. So that is something you got to keep an eye out for, that the Bank Nifty is seemingly a sell on rise in the session today. Facing resistance near that 52,000 level. So keep that at the back of the mind as well. The other aspect to monitor is that while pharma saw some downtakes, the management commentary is looking very strong. And while yesterday may have been an off day, just look at the commentary that has come in, and you would want to believe that that's one pocket that you want to keep an eye out for. Maybe a buy on dips. If the market were to correct, pharma will not be left alone, but it's a defensive, and the management commentary is looking strong from multiple players. So it's something you want to keep an eye out for. Now, the one thing that has happened, which is a bit different, viewers, is that SEBI's proposed new derivative norms. Multiple pieces coming up for expiry. Instead of that, limiting that, increasing the lot size, and many other ways. 7 proposals in total in order to restrict the frenzied activity that is happening in retail. Now, without getting into the merits and demerits of the same, that we'll discuss on TV a bit later, but I'll tell you the impact thereof, and I'm using the Jeffries note to use that. So they are saying that they see divergent impact on market players. They see exchanges and retail-focused brokers being the most affected. You will see a bit of a reaction in prices of a BSE, Angel One, 5 Paisa, Nuvama, Motilal Oswal, etc. They see that members like Nuvama might be relatively less impacted, but will still see a second order impact. So keep this in mind. They've had a really good run, the Nuamas, Motilal Oswals, 361s of the world. There might be a bit of an impact they might see in some of those brokerage linked names. And the removal of BankX weekly contract can impact EPS for BSE in particular by 7 to 9% over FY25 to 27. Will we see a bit of a reaction in the stock price of Bombay Stock Exchange today? Very likely. In the private markets on the NSE as well, very, very likely. So this is a big shift that has happened. Does it have the ammo to bring down the market? Maybe not. It's right now restricted to index options, but the large volumes that we're seeing that might come back, and related players might get impacted. So that's to be kept in mind. Okay, now to the long list of earnings. First, the earnings that will come out today. It's a large list, like I said. The 2 names from the Adani Group, Adani Power and Ambuja Cement. There is Godrej Properties you keep an eye out for after Macrotex numbers. Mankind Pharma after the recent acquisition. M&M and Maruti, the 2 biggies from the auto pack to watch out for. Along with Godrej Properties, Prestige Estates to keep an eye out for. And from the PSU back, PHEL and Coal India. So watch out for these as well. Now to numbers. Tata Consumer was in line, so I won't waste too much time there. Most brokerages are also kind of sanguine or ho-hum on this one, so may not see too much of a reaction. So I'll skip this one in detail for lack of time. Navin Fluorine, the numbers came out. The stock was much higher yesterday, but I think there's a bit of a chink in the armor. And while chemical stocks have largely done well in recent past, Jeffrey's note says that they have downgraded the stock to an underperform on adverse risk reward. The target price is $3,000. They say that there's a deeper downturn that they've seen in Q1 25 for Navin Fluorine, and they say that the spec chem revenue fell 30%, possibly suggesting headwinds in the key product for Navin Fluorine. So watch out for this one. Could well be something that could see a bit of a reaction negative today. GAIL could see a positive reaction today. Strong numbers, revenues up 6% at 34,000 crores versus 32,789. I'll borrow some of my notes as well, by the way, for this. The margins came in at 13.8 versus 8.1. So that was the other one which was very good. And PAT was up 77% at 3,183 crores versus 1,793 crores. The estimates were 2,148 crores, so much higher than estimated for GAIL. Remember, the gas transmission EBIT was up 47%. Gas trading EBIT came in at 46% higher. The volume data is awaited. GAIL's con call is at 11 a.m. today, but I would reckon there will be a bit of a reaction ahead of that immediately. Torrent Power was the other one, which was a very strong set of numbers. Revenues were up 23% at 9,034 crores. The estimates were 7,827. Operating profit margins at 20.6%. The estimate was 17.8. And PAT was up 87% at 996 crores. The estimates were 632 crores. Very strong number, very likely could react positively. Dixon, strong numbers. I'm using the Nuama note to kind of mention what the numbers look like. They have a hold rating with a target price of 12,000 because the stock has run up quite a bit, of course. They say it's a strong Q1 25, above estimates. Q1 revenue and PAT surged 101 and 106% YOY respectively. The mobile and EMS segment drove growth. The other segments, which is consumer electronics, home appliances, lighting, contracted about 6%. The company is guided for a steep ramp up in mobile revenue in FY25. You'll hear from the management at 10:30 a.m. today on NDTV Profit. You might want to tune in for that. Then Indus Tower is the third one. Flattish revenues in line or maybe marginally lower, but the margin performance was very strong, 61.6 versus 57%. The estimates were 53%, so big beat on margins, as a result of which big beat on bottom line as well. Up 3.9%, but at 1926, way higher than the estimates of 1572 crores. They've also approved a buyback proposal, a 5.7 crore shares at 465. The board has approved the proposal. I think Indus could well have a slightly positive day today. What will definitely have a great day are the next few stocks. Johnson Controls, Hitachi. Look at those numbers. Revenue is up 75%. EBITDA at 57 versus an EBITDA loss. PAT versus a net loss last quarter. Very likely this stock will have a big move today. It's not as liquid, by the way, as some of the others, but very likely will move today. Zaggle again, great numbers, 252 versus 118 crores. Margins at 8.9 versus 6.7. That's a big beat on that base, by the way, for the margins. The PAT at 17 crores versus 2 crores. You can't find a fault with these numbers. Will do well. 361 VAM. Again, solid numbers. Total revenue up 60%, PAT up 34%. Yes, the PAT could have been a bit better, but you don't find too many faults with these numbers as well. Very likely could react positively. Or maybe the street may not like the operational metrics and may go down a bit. But still, I would say that these numbers look positive. Waaree Renewable is the other one. Very strong numbers. Revenues up 83%. Operating margins at 17.4 versus 10.4, and PAT of 28 crores versus 9 crores. Over 3x jump in PAT could do well. What will not do well is RR Kabel. Revenues up 13% but lower, but in line with estimates. But operating margins cracked. Bottom line down 13% at 64. The estimates were 86 crores. We'll see a negative reaction very likely. Green Panel, revenues down, PAT down, margins at 9.9 versus 17%. The estimates were 13%. Very likely this one too could react negatively. So both RR Kabel and Green Panel would react negatively. Aegis Logistics, I'm not sure. Revenues were down, but they did very well on the operating profit margin front and on the bottom line front relative to estimates, slightly higher. So maybe the street gives it the benefit of doubt, but the revenue miss is there, so maybe not that great. Adani Energy has opened a QIP at a floor price of 1027. The stock was up 7% yesterday. Watch out for this one. Disclaimer, it's a part of the Adani Group and you're watching NDTV Profit, which is a part of the Adani Group. Dhanuka Agritech to consider a buyback proposal on August 2. Watch out for this one. HFCL has come out with a note saying that they have developed critical defense technologies indigenously with focus on exports. Effectively, optic fiber companies now entering the defense domain. Very strong commentary. They're talking about how the market is about $10 billion. So watch out for HFCL. And lastly, some key brokerage calls that I want to highlight today. Citi on GAIL, target price is 250. Nuvama on Exide, target price is 550. A little bit of a tempering after the weak numbers. CLSA is upgraded persistent to 5525 target price. Nomura has a buy call on Nerolac. The target price is 375. And remember, Kansai Nerolac was big more in trade yesterday. So do watch out for this one as well. Thanks so much for tuning into the trade setup. Have a great day ahead.